Welcome, everybody, to the award-winning RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by RotoWire's free trial at rotowire.com/try and our good friends at DraftKings Pick 6 and Vivid Seats. It is Friday, November 15th. Alex Barutha here, Shannon McEwen, and Ken K-Train Kreitz.
All aboard!
Let's jump right into the news. Last night, we had Kyrie Irving sit out the Thursday night game against the Jazz. The Jazz get their first win at home after Luka Doncic falls asleep about as badly as I've ever seen anybody fall asleep on a basketball court. Jordan Clarkson finds the dish to John Collins, who slams it in. John Collins and Najee Marshall both came through for the best bets column yesterday, by the way. Kyrie currently is the 12th ranked player in 9-cat total stats, has generally stayed healthy this season after averaging 59 games a season the past 2 years. We had Quentin Grimes get the start. 15, 4, and 5, 36 minutes.
Not
bad. That's a nice game, Ken.
Yeah. That was, yeah. First of all, love. I felt like Luka. Whoops, we just lost. Luka falling asleep there was like a microcosm of the NBA Finals, where he also mastered the Olay defense.
He was really beat up in the NBA Finals, though. It's easy to forget.
He's always beat up. Please,
you
know why he's beat up? Because he's not in good shape. I'm always beat up too because I'm a fat, slob. But anywho, Shannon's back. Excellent. Good game last night. Only option, so I had to watch it. But Quentin Grimes not bad. I don't think we're going to see much. I wouldn't run to get Grimes off your waiver wire, but you'd love to see him kind of step up like that against a bad opponent. Utah fans finally get a home win. Happy for those loyal Jazz fans. But I don't know if there's a lot to learn here other than, hey, you might want to trade high on Kyrie before the inevitable injuries set in. I can't imagine he's going to finish 12th in total stats because he has an injury history.
Yeah. The biggest takeaway for me is just keep Grimes on your radar in case something does happen to Luka or Kyrie moving forward.
That's true. I was a little surprised to see him as a starter, but it makes sense, and he did well.
Markkanen suffered a nose injury in the fourth quarter, too. We should mention that. Did not return. Unclear right now.
He did say later, though, the reason he didn't come back, it wasn't the nose. It was they diluted his eyes because he got popped kind of in the mid-range, and he couldn't see. So I think when his vision returns, which is probably now, he'll be fine.
Okay, let's hope so. Ken, let's go to a huge game that happened the other night.
Well, yeah, 2 50-point burgers Wednesday night. But Wembanyama coming off a 50-point game. He has now averaged 36 points, 12 rebounds, 4.3 blocks, and almost 3 dimes over his last 3 games. Hello. So after a slow start, he is now the number 2 player in 9 category season total leagues. Also in 8 category for season totals. He's, of course, behind the Joker. Which is where everyone debated who would be number 1 this year, Wemby or Joker. Anyway, gentlemen, safe to say I think Wemby's back. I think there's nothing to be concerned about. He's still like 8'9" or something.
Yes. I think, there was some whoever you pick number 1 or number 2, it's fine for you. That's not the reason you're winning or losing your league, Right. And I think he's taking more threes than we thought he would. So you're probably getting more 3-point production and less field goal percentage production than you were hoping for. But what more is there to say? He's awesome.
We're 12-13% into the year too. Like the sample size is still small as well. He'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Shannon, what news do you have for us, sir?
Yeah, Golden State Warriors DeAnthony Melton diagnosed with a sprained ACL. He's out indefinitely. Melton started back-to-back games for the Warriors before sustaining the injury, and he was a very popular pickup in fantasy leagues over the past week as a result. Well, you can cut your losses and look for other options now. Buddy Hield, Pajemski, Moses Moody, Gary Trent, Lindy Waters, all could see a boost in playing time. Kerr has been, per usual, kind of a mixed bag with his rotations and who's starting. He's had to manage a couple minor injuries as well. Who are you guys picking out of that group?
I just checked. Buddy Hield's available in just over a third of leagues, which to me is crazy.
Okay.
He was born to play in this offense. You ever seen him happier? Like he like is literally playing with a grin ear to ear. He's ranked in average stats. So per game average stats, 9 categories. Hield is ranked 41st. He's had some super hot games, which he'll do. He's a streaky shooter, but Hield, if you can get him, trade low for him now. Buddy Hield's the guy. But Alex, I'm taking the obvious pick. Who else do you like on this depth chart?
Nobody. To be honest. No, look. Hield is the right answer because when he gets 30 minutes, you gotta roster him. I'm so sick of Pajemski. I gotta be honest. I had to drop him. I dropped him in multiple leagues. I'm just not picking him back up. Probably. I just don't. I don't think the Melton injury matters that much. For his production, like maybe it snaps him into place, but to be honest, this rotation's entirely too unpredictable. Steve Kerr might just be like, oh, actually, I think Gary Payton should play 25 minutes a game now, yes. And then he gets hurt because he always gets hurt. But like that's sort of my point.
Yeah, exactly. And that worries me because Gary Payton has already received a couple starts for this Warriors team when Pods was healthy. Lindy Waters was in the mix. I am going with Pods. Give me AirPods. He's slightly more available than Buddy Hield. I mean, Buddy Hield, yes, he's the number one option. If he's available in your league, 10 or 12 team leagues, I think he's worth a look first. Pods, he's available in about 5% more leagues than Hield, and I would give him second look after Hield.
All right, fellas. Well, let's go to fan questions. Guilford has a question about Markkanen. Who left the game early last night, but we think he'll be okay. He says, hey, I'm stuck with Markkanen right now. I've packaged him with Randall for also injured Walker Kessler and Jalen Williams. Is this an unfair trade? Which side do you like of this?
I'm going to assume that's Jalen without the Y, right?
Yeah, I think that's the starting Jalen Williams for your OKC Thunder, not your reserve center.
Starting center for the Thunder. They're going with the small ball lineup. I will take the Jalen Williams Kessler side of that. You guys already know I'm infatuated with Kessler, even though he's injured right now. But Jalen Williams, as we've seen, in the past week, he's been a top 10 fantasy player.
On fire.
Absolutely on fire. He could gain center eligibility in your league soon. I like it just because Jalen Williams is clearly the best player of that group, and that's who you're landing.
Alex, we've got Kessler as a game time decision still. What do you know about his hip issue?
Kind of unclear. It just popped up one day. I wish I had more info. It's the Jazz, so they're not going to like rush him back, take him day to day. But for this specific question, is that an unfair trade? Yeah, for the person you're trading. Markkanen and Randall too. I'm with Shannon. I would much rather have Kessler and Jalen Williams. I know Kessler is still maybe not doing what people would hope he would do, but Markkanen is he's just so unreliable, and he's got to play better than he's been playing. But Jalen Williams has been amazing, so I would do that.
One more Jazz question: 10 category league, 10 team league. Is Keyonte George worth hanging on to?
I'm gonna say yes, but I understand why you might want to drop him, especially in a 10-team league. I think he's still giving you 6 assists per game, and he's not going to shoot 34% from the field. Like that will increase. I understand why. I think the rankings make him look worse than he actually is for fantasy. That's kind of where I'll plant my flag for now.
Yeah, I'm holding on to
34. Oh, go ahead, Shannon. Sorry.
I'm holding on to him. I mean, field goal percentage is going to be the big drain for you. He has struggled there. He's shooting 33.6%. That should get close, at least closer to what he had last year at 39%. Hopefully he shows some growth and can get to 41 or 42% and make that a little bit more manageable. But the 6 assists per game, the fact that I believe he might be leading the Jazz in minutes per game as well, 31.8, even after his brief 1-game absence in the past week, he came back, played 33, 31. There's not many other guys on the Jazz that are seeing that level of playing time. And, with Sexton and Clarkson on the team, the fact that he's still getting 30+ minutes and the fact that one or both of those guys could be moved, we could see Keyonte George, who's playing 35, 36 minutes later on in this season. And those assists will go up. The scoring will go up. I do think the shooting will improve somewhat, although the field goal percentage will continue to be a drain.
All right, let's get out of Utah. One last question. We're going to move up the Western Coast to Portland. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts rest of season on rookie center Donovan Clingan for the Trailblazers?
Yeah, for context, Clingan started the past 2 games with DeAndre Ayton sidelined, both against Minnesota. Clingan's first game, nothing special, 4-6-1. Then in the rematch, Clingan plays 31 minutes and goes for 17 and 12 with 8 blocks. Also in that game, Rob Williams was not available. So that's sort of, we have a lot
Shocking.
of, yeah, but Rob Williams played and was awesome the other night.
Yeah,
so this is like, this is
when
a
he
big
plays,
problem.
He's awesome. Yes.
This is a big problem. Is rest of season outlook, my opinion is he's going to be maybe the most frustrating fantasy player to roster all season. It's possible he gets sort of unleashed in March and April. My opinion, short opinion, if you have a free roster spot and you need or want big man stats, you should try to grab Clingan and hang on for as long as you can. If you need to drop him, you can. But if you have the space for him and you're not dropping somebody good, I would try your best to stash him.
And Ayton's not going anywhere, is he? They're gonna be able to trade him. He's got another year
market
on his contract.
I don't know who's taking Ayton.
Yeah,
They might just ask him to sit on the couch for a while. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, Clingan, the first start as well, he did have foul trouble in that game, which will be a recurring issue for him. But that does help explain why that was a down performance. 1, Time Lord went off, and 2, Clingan had some foul trouble. I think Clingan's gonna have value in a lot of 12-team leagues for blocks alone. The other stats are going to be hard to come by. The production overall is going to be up and down. It's going to be frustrating. But if he could he provide similar value to what we saw in Walker Kessler's first 2 seasons, where he was 8 points, 8 rebounds, and 2+ blocks? I do, in only 23 minutes per game. I do think we could see that, but I'm far more worried about what happens with Ayton than Time Lord.
All right. Well, hey, before we get to our waiver wire topic, our targets, Alex, can you give us a quick word from our sponsor of Vivid Seats?
Finally, the NBA is back and court is in session. And to start the season, Vivid Seats is offering fans $20 off their first $200 purchase, because nothing beats seeing your favorite team hooping it up in front of thousands of cheering fans. Every slam dunk, every fast break, every buzzer beater of your favorite team live and in person. And because Vivid Seats is the only leading ticket company with a rewards program, you can earn perks on every purchase, like amazing deals and unrivaled annual rewards all season long. Plus, with a 100% buyer guarantee, you can be sure your ticket is as legit as your love for the game. Visit vividseats.com or download the app today and use promo code RotoWire for $20 off your first $200 purchase. Promo code is ROTOWIRE. You'll get $20 off your first minimum $200 ticket purchase. Download the app or visit vividseats.com. Vivid Seats, experience it live.
That's promo code RotoWire for $20 off.
All right, let's jump into the waiver wire. As is standard, we're each going to give 3 waiver wire suggestions. 2 of them are at least standard league options. 1 of them is for deep leagues. As far as the game count next week, there are a handful of teams with only 2 games. That is Miami, Minnesota, OKC, and Phoenix. So keep that in mind. There are also 8 teams with 4 games. So this is an excellent streaming week if you need it, because there's probably someone on your team playing only 2 games this week. I'm going to start off with my first suggestion. Kevin Huerter, 22% rostered in Yahoo, 16% in ESPN. Malik Monk is out for at least another 10 days to 2 weeks. DeMar DeRozan is doubtful for today's game due to back tightness. Huerter's past 3 games, about 14 points with 2.3 threes, 5 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals in 32 minutes per game. 3 steals per game, that's not real. That's not what Kevin Huerter does. But the rest of the line, the 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, if he continues to get 30 minutes per game with a couple guys out, that is real. He's done that before. We've seen that a million times. So 3 games next week for the Kings, but Huerter is someone who is a little under rostered right now.
Red Velvet will hit 3s.
And if for deeper leagues, Keon Ellis is probably going to get the start for DeMar DeRozan tonight. He did in the previous game as well. Steals upside, not much else, but he can pop off every once in a while.
All right, well, I'm going to go to Philadelphia for my first suggestion. And rookie Jared McCain, who is rostered in 34% of Yahoo leagues. The Sixers have 4 games next week. Tyrese Maxey's out until at least late next week, maybe longer. We know PG and Embiid both have perpetual injury risks. McCain had a shocking 34-point, 10-assist game on Wednesday versus Cleveland. Yes, Cleveland, not some terrible squad, but undefeated Cavaliers. I say shocking because he averaged 1.9 assists a game his 1 year at Duke. But even without the assist, look, the last 4 games, McCain's had 25.5 points, 4.3 triples, while shooting almost 46% from the field, and he's perfect from the charity stripe. So you're looking at quality shooting guard numbers here with a possibility for high assists if Maxey stays out. People should be racing to get Jared McCain off the waiver wire.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with my first pick. We're going to go to Denver, a guy we've talked about already a couple times in the preseason and during the season. Peyton Watson, forward for the Denver Nuggets, 20% rostered on Yahoo, 6% rostered on ESPN. He's been a top 30 player on a per game basis over the past week, averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, 3 3-pointers, and 1 block in 36 minutes per game over that stretch. He's locked into the starting lineup for the Denver Nuggets until Aaron Gordon returns. Watson is a guy, he's a sneaky block play that we mentioned multiple times. So if you need blocks, you need 3-pointers, he's the guy that can get it for you. His value is probably limited to until Gordon returns, but still very, very solid streaming option for probably at least the next couple weeks. And Denver has 3 games on the schedule for the next weekly lineup period.
We've seen what playing with Joker can do for Christian Brown, and we're seeing that same lift with Watson now.
Mm-hmm. And he hasn't really had like a big breakout game yet. I think he'll end up having a game where he'll have like 3 steals and 3 blocks and 19 points. He hasn't quite had that yet, but I think when that happens, more people are going to be like, "Oh, I should probably have this guy on my roster." So that's a good suggestion, Shannon.
Alex, I think you have an idea from Los Angeles.
Kris Dunn of the LA Clippers, 9% rostered in Yahoo, 2% in ESPN. They put Coach Ty Lue put Dunn in the starting lineup over Terrence Mann during Wednesday's game against the Rockets. It was his 2nd consecutive game seeing at least 28 minutes. In those 2 games, he averaged 10 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, and I wrote a block, but it's a steal. We know people who have been playing fantasy for a while, we know what we can get out of Kris Dunn when he sees minutes. Mm-hmm. And basically that's assists and steals. And he's actually not a bad rebounder or shot blocker. So over the past 3 years, per 36, Dunn is 13 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 2.3 stocks. And the Clippers have 4 games this week. So whether or not it sticks, this is really encouraging from Dunn. We know he's good per minute, and just total numbers wise, I think he's someone that even in 12-team leagues, you should probably be at least considering.
I think Dunn just makes a lot of sense next to Harden's bad defense. Dunn's always going to be a better defender than Mann. I like the Harden-Dunn pairing if you're a Clippers fan.
Sure. I agree. I like Kris Dunn. I think he should have played more for his entire NBA career.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
take
I'm
us to the
coming
next
with
guy.
a repeat recommendation that I made last week, but I still believe it, and he's still not rostered. Tari Eason, power forward for your Houston Rockets, is only rostered in 43% of Yahoo leagues, only 32% of ESPN leagues. He is a stocks machine. The last 7 games, he's almost done 2 steals a game, 1.6 blocks, plus 15 points and 7 boards per contest over his last 7. He's played 25 minutes or more in those 7 games. He's out playing Jabari Smith. Houston has 4 games next week. People, please hop on the Tari Eason train. Please.
There's Eason and there's Ahmed Thompson, but to me the bigger story, Shannon, Jabari Smith. Not bigger,
Sure.
but like drop this guy, right? Like it's automatic drop for you.
Certain old man rant coming up about this, Alex.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
We'll hold it for that. Yeah, Eason's been a top 50 per game guy this year, despite coming off the bench. So if he ever starts playing 30 plus minutes per game, the ceiling is the roof, as I think Michael Jordan once said.
Yes.
All right. So my second free agent pickup is Patrick Williams, forward for the Chicago Bulls. I saw some listeners asking about him. 17% rostered on Yahoo, 5% on ESPN. The 5th-year forward has been a top 50 per game fantasy option over the past week. He's coming off his best game of the season, scoring a season high 18 points with 6 boards, 2 steals, and 3 3-pointers against the Knicks. Williams started the season in a bit of a shooting slump, hitting only 33% of his field goal attempts through the first 8 games, but he's found his groove recently. Over the past 4 games, he's averaging 13 points, 5.8 boards, 2 steals, 2 3-pointers with shooting splits of 45, 90, and 42 in 32 minutes per game. The minutes per game is the big part of it. Williams has never played more than 28 minutes per game for the Bulls, but I look at this guy. He was a 4th overall pick in 2020. He's got the pedigree. The Bulls handed him a 5-year, $90 million deal in the offseason. You have DeRozan out of town now. The opportunity's there for Williams to have a bigger role with the Bulls team this year. And I think he's finally going to make good on some of this fantasy upside. He has the opportunity to be a top 100 player for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, he's talking about a frustrating player.
Yes.
Him and Jabari Smith to me were becoming like the same guy. But the increased volume for Pat Williams that's the big thing.
And the difference is with Pat Williams compared to a guy like Jabari Smith is Williams is going to hit enough threes. He's going to get enough steals. He should get enough steals based on his skill set. He's a good perimeter defensive player. You know, it's there if he gets the minutes. So 1.5 threes, 1.5 steals is in play.
Alex, who is your long shot for the week?
5% rostered. Currently the only real center for the Charlotte Hornets, and that is Moussa Diabate. No timetable for Mark Williams or Nick Richards really to return. Those guys are essentially out indefinitely. They've been doing some Taj Gibson and some Grant Williams at center occasionally. That's kind of crazy in my opinion. But Diabate's past 3 games, only 5.3 points, but it is 67% from the field. The main thing here, 13.7 rebounds and 2.7 stocks in 27 minutes per 36 this season. He's averaging 8 points, 16 boards, and 2.3 stocks. Look, if you need rebounds and blocks, Diabate is there, and it's just unclear when Williams and Nick Richards are coming back. So I think he should be rostered in more than 5% of leagues, especially if you need those 2 specific stats.
Nice. My long shot, I love him. I can't quit him. Marcus Smart of your Memphis Grizzlies. Smart's rostered in 26% of Yahoo leagues and only 11% of ESPN leagues. The Grizzlies, once again, are a mash unit with injuries all over the place. Hopefully Williams and Bane are coming back soon, but we'll see. Smart is strong, steals and assists guy, and he'll score when everyone else is hurt. Memphis has 3 games next week. I mean, honestly, you're just throwing darts at this Grizzlies squad to see who can stay healthy. and will get minutes because there's tons of minutes available with all their injuries. And Shannon, I think you have a similar Grizzlies dart throw for your long shot as well, right?
Well, I actually called an audible, so you probably saw some of my previous notes. But
I did.
This is a guy I just feel like isn't talked about enough, and I was very surprised by his low roster numbers. Caleb Martin, forward for the Philadelphia Sixers, 13% rostered on Yahoo, 7% rostered on ESPN. He has averages of 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists with 1.3 3-pointers, 2.5 steals in 34 minutes per game over the past week. That's near top 50 per game value. Martin has started 10 consecutive games while playing heavy minutes, and he should remain the starting power forward for the Sixers moving forward. You got Maxey out. Jordan and Embiid are going to sit the occasional game. Martin's production will be up and down, but the heavy minutes are going to be there, and he'll have to carry a heavier load for the team for stretches this year. So I like Caleb Martin. He's just a solid, productive player who will have plenty of playing time if you need something like that for your fantasy squad.
100%. Just under rostered, like you said. Yeah. They need him.
We had him on our sleeper list. I almost also put Martin for my long shot, and I just didn't want to keep repeating his name because he was on my sleeper list. So thank you, Shannon.
Okay, let's move into our DraftKings Pick 6 / DFS segment. But first, a word from DraftKings Pick 6.
Here at RotoWire, we're proud to be partnered up with DraftKings Pick 6 this NBA season. Think your team will score more than 100 points tonight? How about your favorite point guard making more than 4 3-pointers? Check out DraftKings Pick 6, the newest way to play fantasy basketball and win cash with DraftKings. Here's how it works. All you got to do is pick 2 to 6 players of the same sport and choose if they'll have more or less of a given stat. So for hoops, we're talking points, assists, rebounds, etc. Lock in those picks, compete against opponents for your shot at huge cash prizes. Go download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use our code ROTOPICK, ROTOPICK. That's code ROTOPICK for new Pick 6 customers. Play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits guaranteed. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 30 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, we have a 13-game slate today, this Friday. Highest over-under, our boys in Washington and Atlanta, 241.5 is the over-under in that game. As always, if you need the latest injury updates and starting lineups, check the RotoWire lineups page. And we do have an injuries page as well, but the lineups page is kind of the all-in-one place thing. I just want to kick things off because I'm going back to the well on Tyler Hero today. Tyler Hero over 29.5 points plus assists against the Indiana Pacers, who are without their best 2 backcourt defensive options in Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard. Tyler Hero over the past 5 games is averaging 29 points and 6 assists. He's shooting a little bit over his head, like he's not going to shoot 50% from 3, but I think the usage will absolutely be there while Butler is out.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
I would just say Rozier's also not playing that well, so it's also they're leaning more on Hero.
No, Scary Terry has been very scary. Tyler Hero, any more that you can select on him, I think it's the right call. Over the past 4 games, 29.5 points, 5.3 rebounds, 7 assists. So you're going to have 41, 42 PRA over the past 4 games. Jimmy Butler's out. We're going to see more of it tonight. It's going to be against Indiana, so Miami's going to have to play at a bit of a higher pace than normally do. The overs on Bam are probably solid as well. They update throughout the day. You know, even 10 minutes before we hit record, some of these lines have been updated. Another guy who is just on a hot streak that we mentioned at the opening segment, Wemby, I pretty much like any over for him as well. He was previously projected for 35.5 points plus rebounds. He's averaging 48 points plus rebounds over the past 3 games. Right, he's got one big game in there, but he's actually had 3 straight pretty monster efforts. Any over on those two, I like considerably.
Yes. I mean, Wembanyama going up against Anthony Davis makes me a little bit worried. I don't see a line right now for over 3s on Wembanyama, but I think if I have to go over on Wembanyama anything, it would be 3s in this matchup. But yeah, he's been unbelievable.
He had 2 gigantic games against the Lakers last year. So, and the thing about Wemby is he's basically matchup proof, right? Like you in that big game the other night against Washington, you see him playing against Sarr, and Sarr is known. One of the reasons why Sarr is a good prospect because he's a 7-foot dude that's super athletic. He can handle the ball. He looked tiny, just like every other NBA player. He looked tiny trying to guard Wemby, and Anthony Davis is going to look tiny next to Wemby too. So I'm honestly not that worried about the matchup.
I got one here. Jalen Johnson, over 9.5 rebounds.
Love it.
Washington gives up 50 rebounds per game to opponents, per 48, I should say. But it's essentially the same thing. They're terrible on the glass. Jalen Johnson, the Hawks have already played the Wizards twice this season. Jalen Johnson in the first game went for 12 boards. In the second game, he said, actually, I wasn't trying hard enough. And he went for 17 rebounds in his second game against Washington. His line is at 9.5 right now. He's been playing really well. That is somewhere I'm certainly looking, especially with the high over under in that game, the highest of the day.
Side note, I love this core of Johnson, Richache, and Daniels. They should trade Trae Young and go just all length at every position and swarm defense. Maybe I'm biased because they beat the Celtics, but darn, they look good in that game without Trae Young and his terrible defense.
I think they're trying to, and they tried this with the DeJounte Murray trade, which was like, if this thing is going to work with Trae, it's got to work like the Rockets thing worked with Harden. Like, we just have to surround him with defensive players because otherwise we have no chance.
Yeah.
Obviously has not been that successful so far, but we'll see. Like I said, all these guys individually, I like them.
Yeah. I've got one more pick 6 wreck. Benedict Mathurin.
Oh yeah.
28.5 points plus rebounds. So he's not passing the ball much, only averaging about 1.5 assists.
He's like, I want to start. I'm not passing this ball.
Exactly. That's not a strong. That's not what the Pacers need from him. Over the past 4 games, like, it's amazing to me that this dude, for whether it's DFS, whether it's pick 6, like his lines, his DFS salary, it's all just wrong right now. Over the past 4 games, he's averaging 35 points plus rebounds, and his line's at 28.5. I think he's locked in as the starting shooting guard for this team for the remainder of the season, or small forward, whichever it is. I would be amazed if they take him out of the lineup after this recent stretch he's had. But he's going to have a heavy role. He's going to need to pour in a bunch of buckets. His rebounding has really impressed me. He's averaging 9.3 over the past 4 games. He already has 3 double-digit rebounding games this season. Give me Ben Math all day long on the over. And I'm going to segue that into some DFS recommendations because he's there for me as well. Love him for DraftKings tonight. He is at $6,200. $6,200.
Wow.
I don't even know how that's possible. This guy has been averaging well over 40 fantasy points for the past 4 games. If you extend that out to the past 7 games, it's still right around that 40-point mark. As soon as he got inserted in the starting lineup, he's become a beast. At 6,200 is far too cheap. He's a must play for me. I feel like his roster ownership, his percentages have been way too low even during this hot streak. So he's one of my favorite DFS plays. Kris Dunn, a lot of times the DFS plays are they're gonna line up really well with our free agent recommendations because these are guys who are newly inserted. They newly inserted in the starting lineup. They're on a hot streak, whatever it may be. Their production has picked up. Their DFS salary does not match that yet. Kris Dunn, he's one. Peyton Watson, another guy. Those guys are both under $5,000 and will have big roles for their teams tonight. Tyler Hero, coming off a big 70-point fantasy outing. He's going to have I love the matchup against the Pacers. He's going to have heavy usage. He's under 8,000. There's not many guys who have 70-point upside under $8,000 on tonight's slate. Dyson Daniels, he's skyrocketed in salary on other DFS sites, but on DraftKings for whatever reason, 6,500. He's a steal there. He's a steal there. Very much like Ben Math. And then Jalen Williams without the Y, monster, absolute monster. Since moving to the center spot, this Thunder team needs him to be the number 2 scoring option with Chet out. Mm-hmm. He's going to have a heavy workload. He's going to get stats across the board, even at $8,000+. I love him for tonight's slate. One last one that I'm skeptical on, and I want to run by you guys. McCain. All right, we talked about McCain. We know he's playing really well right now, but the Sixers are going to have Embiid back for tonight's game. I'm assuming Embiid and Paul George are going to play. Currently, it looks like they will. So you have Embiid and George both healthy. It's to be determined if McCain's going to start or come off the bench. I think there is possible upside that he replaces Kyle Lowry as soon as tonight in the starting lineup. We shall see. But at 5,500, I feel like the ownership, the roster percentage is going to be skyrocket because of that big performance he's coming off of. But with George and Embiid back, I'm going to fade McCain for tonight's slate.
I mean, Orlando undefeated at home, giving up the fewest raw points per game, 103.7. And you mentioned it, George and Embiid are back. And I think if you're going to fade McCain, that it should be tonight. Yeah, that's what I'll say. Okay. Does that wrap it up for you, Shannon?
Sure.
Okay. You don't want to give all the way, all the secrets away.
I share my entire lineup every week.
I know.
And then I change it. Then I change it 5 times before lock. So
all right, Ken, give us the old man rant.
Arg! Jabari Smith, what is wrong with you? You are killing a few of my fantasy squads. Jabari was the number 3 pick of the 2022 draft. Smith is only 21 years old. He's supposed to be peaking right now, but instead he's getting outplayed by Tari Eason. Over Smith's last 6 games, the young power forward has averaged a paltry 7.5 points, 5.2 boards, and half a block over 24 minutes of run. Those are backup numbers. This is supposed to be your breakout year, Jabari. Turn things around.
It is tough when you're supposed to be a 3-and-D big who doesn't shoot well from 3 or block shots or get steals. Generally not doing a lot out there. He does have the worst pedigree. This may not shock you. He has the worst plus minus on the Houston Rockets of anybody who's played real minutes. Yeah. Although so does Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet. But yeah, man, to me he's just an auto drop almost every league. That's just not what's going to happen. That is going to turn him into 16-7. You know, when they got other guys.
I don't know. I don't understand. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
I would not fault anyone in a 10-team league for dropping him. If you've held on to him this long, it's admirable. I do think this is just also a bad streak. We're going to see stretches where he looks dominant and can live up to some of that pedigree. It was similar last year, right? He had monstrous stretches. He had stretches where he's doing exactly what he's doing right now. The worry for me this year is Eason's really, really blossoming. And Eason was in and out of the lineup last year with injuries. That's not the case right now. So Smith is troublesome. So hopefully they trade him to the Pistons. We could use a big man.
And they'll take Tobias Harris off your hands, right? Tobias Harris for Jabari Smith straight up.
I'm game.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
That does it, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. It is presented by DraftKings Pick 6 and Vivid Seats. And for the free look behind the paywall, rotowire.com/try. And don't forget the Picks and Props app that we have. Check the App Store for the RotoWire Picks and Props app. That's huge. I use that when we do these Pick 6 recommendations. I use the app. I use the tab on the site. So make sure to give that a look.
Also,
Ken,
please like and subscribe our videos.
yes, we appreciate that. Helps us a lot. Helps us get these videos out here. We get better fan questions. Helps everybody out. All right. Take us out of here.
Yeah, let's go to Utah. And our good friends at Yahoo, a RotoWire business partner, after the Jazz beat the Mavs Thursday night on a last-second dunk by John Collins, Yahoo posted this delicious headline last night. Quote, Jazz beat Mavericks on John Collins' game-winning dunk, courtesy of statuesque defense by Luka Doncic. Thank you, Yahoo Sports. Well done. That's some clickbait I can get behind. Attention, passengers. This 3-car fantasy train wreck has hit the end of the line.